Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Cameron Plese y soy el jefe de América del Norte. Gracias a Palma por invitarme. Lo siento, pero hablaré en inglés. Thank you very much to the translators for both translating my English as well as my terrible Spanish. I'm very excited to be presenting to you today from the United States information about the North American market and the benefits for those actors who are sourcing and producing sustainably according to the principles and criteria of the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil. So when most North American consumers think about palm oil, or when they first learn about palm oil, this is unfortunately what they imagine. They see images of fire being used to clear land, damaging very important biodiverse landscapes and harming wildlife. Often, the image in their head is the orangutan. They also see images of clear-cut forest, again harming wildlife, communities, and sometimes indigenous people who have rights to that land. They also see images of haze impacting communities that are nearby the production of palm oil. Lately, they've also seen, unfortunately, images of human rights abuses, labor abuses, child labor, all things that we all agree should not exist in practices around palm oil, and we all know that we don't want those in the products we consume, and we understand why North American consumers might feel the same way. This has been supported by some major headlines historically. Unfortunately, again, often for some good reasons. The history of the palm oil industry around the world hasn't always been a positive one. But, as all of you know, there's been amazing work done over the last few decades to make sure the industry is actually one of the leaders in sustainability. This is especially true in Latin America. However, we still have more work to be done. The reality for North Americans is that even if they have this perception, and if they are learning the unfortunate other side of the story instead of the positive side that we see in Latin America, the reality is that all North Americans enjoy the benefits of palm oil every single day, even if they often don't realize it. We all know that palm oil is found in over 50% of all products found at the supermarket. So, North Americans who are enjoying their food, using cosmetics, shampooing their hair, cleaning their homes, they're enjoying the benefits of palm oil production almost daily. So avoiding it's not an option, even for the most conscious consumers. But we do, again, need to recognize they are justified in their desire to not be connected to a lot of these negative practices that we have seen historically. This presents a really great opportunity to tell a new story. And we are seeing those who are moving aggressively towards sustainability and more ethical practices being rewarded in the North American market. This has largely been led by the efforts of the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil and those growers who are certified to the RSPO principles and criteria. Most importantly, the practices of no deforestation, no planting on peatland, and no exploitation of communities or people, otherwise known as NDPE. Those are all things that are compliant through RSPO principles and criteria. Actors who have been following that have been seeing great reward, and the RSPO has established itself as the go-to standard for companies in North America wanting to make sure that they're sourcing according to these practices. So it's important, though, to take a step back really quickly and look at the North American market as a whole and better understand what is happening here. Specifically, we'll look at the United States as a case study. We have seen that the United States is one of the fastest growing markets for palm oil imports. Just recently, in 2022, we saw a 20% increase in imports coming into the United States. This is the biggest increase we have seen since the original spike in the early 2000s that was a result of regulatory bans on trans fats and partially hydrogenated oils. This ban led a lot of companies to look for new feedstocks, new oils for their products, and palm oil quickly rose to the top as the best alternative and the best way to continue making the products that North Americans loved while fitting this regulation. what we have seen over the years since that regulation is this continued rapid increase, a lot of it being from companies that are wanting to move away from fossil fuel-based feedstocks and towards plant-based feedstocks. The demand of this market is expected to continue to increase, especially as we see volumes in other places like Europe start to decrease. Those volumes are going to be looking for a new home, and the North American market is a prime market for those volumes, again, especially for those actors who can show that they are acting in ways that the North American consumers and companies would like to see. We've seen the palm kernel oil market in the United States follow a very parallel growth pattern to palm oil. The palm kernel oil market is led largely by the beauty sector in North America, who have a very strong consumer base that are very conscious, and they're pushing for more sustainable and ethical practices. Again, more plant-based feedstocks rather than petroleum-based feedstocks, and are wanting products that are not linked to human rights and labor rights abuses. While the volumes of palm kernel oil are definitely much smaller than the palm oil volumes, representing only around 400,000 metric tons for the United States, they also represent one of the more premium markets, as beauty companies and this whole sector in general are the higher priced products that consumers willing to pay a lot more money. And they also offer some of the better storytelling opportunities to reach consumers, because these are the consumers who really want to know exactly what's going into their products. Palm kernel oil also offers great opportunities for smallholder inclusion, something that's very important to North American companies and consumers as a region that really puts a lot of pride in small farmers domestically. We also look for that internationally. Because of the great supply crunch that we see for palm kernel products and palm kernel oil, this can partially be addressed through sourcing palm kernel from smallholders, giving again an opportunity for better storytelling, but also for more market access. So what we're seeing going forward with North America is that we are projected to continue seeing this growth overall in volume. Currently, North America is not the largest place for palm oil imports, but the United States itself is the 5th largest importer, and again, still growing. The top 4 in order are India, China, the European Union 27, and Pakistan. But we're seeing the United States very closely approaching the volumes of Pakistan and the European Union, and are expected to overtake them and become the 3rd largest importer in the near future. Currently, though, roughly 90% of all of the imports coming into North America are coming from Malaysia and Indonesia, and less than 5% are coming from Latin America. This again shows a great opportunity for Latin American growers who can tell that better story, show the better practices to gain some market share in this very fast-growing market. And to highlight why this is very important, we're seeing a lot of demand for Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil sourcing in this region. North America is the fastest growing region for RSPO membership. We've seen a 300% increase in the last 5 years alone, making now the United States, with over 650 members, the largest single country in the world for RSPO membership. These are companies that you all know very well, many of the largest companies in the world, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we've also seen in 2022, 88.5% of all palm oil coming into North America being covered by one of the 4 RSPO supply chains. This is an increase from 59% in 2019, so a huge increase in uptake. This also makes North America the largest uptake region in the world. More palm oil here by percentage is certified than any other place in the world. A lot of what has created this opportunity has been some pending regulation in the United States, which we'll go over in a little bit. Also, RSPO shared responsibility uptake targets, leading to a lot of the companies here being forced to increase their uptake and set really aggressive targets to reach 100%. We have also seen almost all major companies in the United States and Canada set policies for NDPE sourcing, deforestation and conversion-free sourcing, and higher levels of practices in general. These are some of the biggest drivers, just to name a few, that are leading the big companies here to want to make sure they're sourcing better and differently. So the private sector commitments, as I mentioned, have been one of the big contributors, which, seeing that North America and the United States are not the biggest importers, you might wonder, why is this that important? Why is it a big opportunity? Well, while North America might only represent 4% of the global palm oil consumption and imports, if you look at the companies that are based here and their global operations, North American companies actually represent 15% of global palm oil when you're taking all of their global operations into consideration. And again, as I mentioned, most of these major companies, they have commitments to reach 100% RSPO sourcing by many of them 2030, some of them sooner than that. Many of them are also looking to move towards segregated and identity preserved as a way to make sure they're meeting these commitments. So all of that together, to access the market in North America and to work with these private sector companies, very soon there will come a time where if you are not NDPE compliant, if you're not RSPO certified, you will not be able to access this market, which is a huge opportunity for Latin American growers who we know represent the largest percentage of RSPO certification in the world. These are just a few of the companies that we're already working with, many more beyond this list, but these are some of the bigger ones that are working with Latin American companies already to make sure all of their Latin American manufacturers and the production leading into those manufacturers are meeting RSPO principles and criteria and are meeting the other aggressive policies that they're setting, such as NDPE and deforestation and conversion free. My colleague is there who will speak to you a little bit more about this work that we have done, but it's been very exciting seeing these North American companies take the lead and work in partnership with Latin American companies to achieve these targets. The other thing I had mentioned is the U.S. Forest Act. This is very similar to the regulation you're all very well aware of, I'm sure, of the European Deforestation Due Diligence Regulation, otherwise known as the EUDR. What makes this a little bit different than the EUDR is while the EUDR covers all deforestation, the U.S. Forest Act will only cover illegal deforestation. So if this passes, which it is starting to look like it very much will pass soon, it will make sure that any products coming into the United States are not linked to illegal deforestation. Similar to the EUDR, this will include all derivatives and oleochemicals of palm oil and palm kernel oil as well. Similar to the EUDR, the importer of record, so the company bringing the products into the United States, will be the one responsible for showing the due diligence. A little bit different than the EUDR though, the cutoff date for Forest Act will be from the day that it passes. So if it does pass, it might be this year will be the cutoff date for illegal deforestation and everything forward compared to 2020 for the EUDR. But what I think is really exciting about the U.S. Forest Act, if it does pass, is there are actually, again, some really great opportunities for those producers and companies that can show their compliance. One of the really great parts of the U.S. Forest Act that a lot of RSPO members had pushed for is a trusted trader program for importers. This is an opportunity for any company that it can show a transparent and credible due diligence system and a track record of compliance, track record of supply chain traceability and transparency, and a track record of producing and sourcing products that did not come from illegal deforestation. These companies will fit into a trusted trader program, which provides a pathway for less due diligence and less requirements for importing, and also shows any company looking for importers that you are a company that they should be sourcing from because you will have a better pathway towards complying with this and less opportunity for your products to be blocked. So a really great opportunity for those companies that can show they're performing to a higher level. The U.S. government has also put in the U.S. Forest Act an opportunity for any government level procurement. So any products coming through any government entity, whether that is hospitals or schools or prisons, anything like that, the U.S. government will give a preference to any company that can show that they are deforestation free. This goes beyond illegal deforestation. Any company that can in general show that they are deforestation free for the products will be the priority company that the U.S. government will make sure gains that contract. Also, the U.S. government will be directing a lot of resources and grants and technical assistance to producer countries and countries, and any company that will be bringing products in. So overall, the U.S. Forest Act is going to be presenting a lot of great opportunities for those companies performing to a higher level if this does indeed pass. This is something the RSPO is following very closely, and the authors of this regulation have been working closely with the RSPO and see us as a trusted resource. So RSPO certification won't be a green light to gain access to the market, but the authors of this law have told us that it will be a major part of showing due diligence towards compliance for the U.S. Forest Act. So again, great opportunity for those who are RSPO certified. So continuing to take a look into the future, we've now established that there's a growing market for RSPO products and for palm oil products in general in North America. But there's always the question of market access is one thing, but is there actually a financial incentive beyond that? Well, the RSPO worked with climate advisors a few years ago to conduct a very in-depth study on publicly traded companies in the palm oil sector around the world. What you see here is a graph where the green line represents RSPO certified companies that were publicly traded. The gray line is all the palm oil sector, certified and non-certified. The orange line represents non-certified palm oil actors. What this shows is that the equity returns for globally traded companies that were RSPO certified greatly exceeded both the average of the entire market, but even more so those who are not certified. RSPO certified companies performed better by 24.7% compared to non-certified companies, again showing that there is big financial return in being an RSPO certified company. It was summarized best by the CEO of Climate Advisors, who looked at the study and said, companies and their investors no longer need to make a choice between generating a stronger investment return and protecting their brand. Companies that have taken sustainability risks seriously are outperforming their peers. Simply put, environmental stewardship improves the bottom line. Investors should take note or risk leaving money on the table. So, as the latest trends show us, environmental stewardship, along with ethical practices, will be essential in accessing the rapidly growing North American market, but will also provide positive returns on the investment. The RSPO is here to be a partner in this journey, and we're excited to work together with you to move forward better and faster. We have teams here in North America ready to work with you, and our great team in Latin America who are there as well to take some questions from you. Thank you very much for your time and for receiving me virtually. Again, my colleague is here. More colleagues are there as well to help you answer any further questions you might have. And my colleague will be joining you soon to take the rest of this presentation forward. Thank you very much.